Well, anybody who's had a job in their 20s knows it stinks to have bosses like riding you and telling you what to do, and you think you know better. And of course, I thought I knew better. And just, being your own boss, that entrepreneurial spirit is pretty awesome to have. And even though it was baby steps throughout, I did have a full-time job. I was working at a magazine, Us Weekly, kind of celebrity stuff. And then my girlfriend at the time, now wife, had like a really good job. So she was in pharmaceutical sales. And I was able to like make no money on the blog because we had income. I mean, it's super. A lot of these guys are like, oh, I'm going to leverage all the credit cards I have and run up debt. Like I didn't have to do that, which was pretty fortunate. And the blog was low cost. Like now it's even cheaper. You just open up an Instagram handle or a TikTok, and next thing you know, you're like a gambling expert, and you get all these followers. And but it's a low barrier for entry on social media. With a blog, you actually have to buy the URL. You've got to understand HTML. You've got to constantly update it. So it was a little more challenging. And I think the anonymous factor, I didn't put my name on it for the first, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. So there was some intrigue, like, who is this guy? I was breaking some small media stories. Like, I'm sure you guys saw Peter King retired this week. So like I would have done a story back then. Peter King's leaving ESPN for Sports Illustrated. And not many people care, but I think you probably know this. If you're in the media, you love reading about yourself, right? It's fun. And so I would start writing about the media, and then people would send me tips about their colleagues or themselves or whatever. And it started to like kind of snowball, and we were able to break some stories, which is, I think failure is a big part of the success story. I mean, it might seem like, oh, Jason's on the herd. Geez, how do you, every time we get around like college graduation time, I start getting these emails or LinkedIn requests or DMs. Hey, Jay, how do you get that job? Like, how do you get on TV and like talk about sports? Can I do that? I was like, yeah. 20 years after you started the industry, maybe it'll happen. And nobody wants to hear that. They all want to get, how do I get to where you are and make money, but not have to like put in 20 years? And like, again, the winding road that it took me to get here is crazy and littered with failure, because that's, how you find your success. But yeah, like I think my first check from the website when I created it was something like $89 or like $117, somewhere in that, like you could pay your phone bill. And like that was it. And it was like, oh, wow. And, trying to tell future in-laws, oh, yeah, I'm starting this thing called a blog. And, they're like looking at me like I have two heads. And even to tell my parents, like, they're like, what are you doing? Get a real job. And, it got a little lucky with it. And the timing was everything, because, now you don't really want to start a website. Now you'd want to start a Substack. But to start a Substack, which people pay to read you, you've got to have like really juicy information that people want to pay for. B, you've got to have a following. You can't just be like a random person starting a Substack. Like, who's signing up? We don't know who you are. But yeah, you wouldn't, I don't think, invest in a website. Like, the written word is kind of dying. I'm sure you saw Vice. The website is like kind of going under, and they're done now. And you saw ESPN, the magazine, is closed. Fox Sports doesn't do a ton of writing. I do write for the website, but it's mostly like gambling and mock drafts and small stuff. But it feels like that era of newspapers is kind of gone, and even websites are kind of fading. It's now social media, and I'm sure social media will eventually fade, and now it's all videos. But yeah, when I started the podcast, massive good fortune, I had went to Fox and said, hey, gambling is kind of a big deal in like 2017, maybe, because I was doing gambling videos for them, college football and NFL. And they were like, all right, yeah, let's start a gambling podcast. And then, of course, it does like good numbers. And then they come to me at the end of the football season like, Jason, this is great. But we don't know how to monetize this podcast thing. This is like 2017, 2018, right around there. I was like, all right. No, so we can't have you do it anymore, because it's like resources. We got to reallocate. Like, we can't make money off this. I was like, all right. So then Fox Sports Radio was like, hey, Jay, let's do a podcast. We can make money off it. You have an audience. People want to hear it. The takes, the gambling. And, here we are 4 years later, and the podcast is humming along strong. So again, timing is a lot. Good luck. A lot of factors, as I'm sure you know. Okay, so late 2015, Fox comes to me and is like, hey, we got this FS1 network. We're building out shows. Come out and try out, and Cowherd's like, this is a perfect fit. So 2016, we're in Pennsylvania and near the in-laws, free babysitting for the little kids, all that fun stuff. Nice big house with a pool in the yard. Like, it was fun. And they're like, hey, come move to LA. I was like, all right, let's go to LA. Move your family across the country to do this TV show on FS1. And then within a year, the guy who hired me gets fired. And one of the psychopaths I was doing the TV show with decides to, hey, this is my show now. The guy got fired. And then like rubs me out of the show. And Cowherd leaves the show because who wants to be around that toxic guy? And here we are. I'm like, holy cow, I moved my family across the country. And 2 years in, oh, damn, I'm a failure. And like it was like written about Jason's joining TV. And, you tell your family, I'm moving to LA, and you're all excited. And I was like, crapping my pants behind the scenes, like, holy cow, I'm screwed. What do I do? And that's where you can either just crumble and just fold up, or that's when I went to Fox and was like, hey, why don't we do NFL videos? Gambling's starting to become a thing. Why don't we just do picks videos? I'll pick games every week. And of course they did big numbers, and they're like, this is great. So that led to them doing like an online gambling show, and it was me and Callan, and then me and I think Carissa Thompson was on it, and then it was Jeff Schwartz, and various iterations. And then here's another failure that you'll like. So I had started the Big Lead website, 2006. And then I get the Fox job, move out here, but I'm still doing the Big Lead. So I'm kind of getting the best of both worlds. Hey, I'm getting that TV paycheck and I'm getting the Big Lead paycheck, which was great. And I sold it, so I made some money. This is great. And then the Big Lead gets sold again to another company. And I'm like, oh, so what's the game plan? They're like, oh, you can interview with us. I was like, okay, that's a little weird. I created this motherfucker. What do you want me to interview for my own website? Okay, fine. So I talked to them and I'm like, listen, guys, I've been running the P&L report here for years. We make money. We're profitable. We're rolling. I like what we got. Small tweaks around the edges, but like, I'm not doing anything dramatic. And they come to me, and I'd never even met these guys face to face. It was like, I think phone calls, maybe a Zoom. They're like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's going to work for us. I was like, what are you thinking? And they say these ideas, and I was like, yeah, I don't think that's going to go well. And they're like, all right, we'll be in touch. I was like, okay. So this is how shady these guys were. They decide that they're going to move on from me. They call me and tell me, and I'm like shocked. They're like, yeah, we're not going to retain you. I was like, wow. Within like 15 minutes, they go to the New York Post and we're like, hey, we bought the website and we're moving on from McIntyre and these other guys, and we're going to keep these two guys. And they like leak it to the New York Post to like, I guess, make me look like shit. And I start getting texts about this, like, holy cow, what's going on? And I was like, damn, it was a massive failure for me. I created the website. You guys shoved me out. And I swear it was within 3 weeks that Fox was like, hey, Jay, so are you allowed to write for other websites now? I was like, yeah, I'm not with the Big Lead anymore. They're like, all right, can we pay you to write for foxsports.com? I was like, yeah, sure. What do you want me to do? They're like, gambling. Yeah, let's do it. I was like, all right. And they mock drafts, basketball, football, whatever you want, anything. I was like, sure. And they actually paid me more than what I was getting at the Big Lead. And it was like, holy cow, like that worked out great. And then I looked more appealing to Fox. Like, hey, I'm a team player. I can do TV. I can write. I can do videos. I can do everything. And you become more valuable. And what looked like a massive failure. And again, it feels like such a professional rejection, especially when these losers like leak it to the media and to try to make you look bad. But you just got to find a way to bounce back. Because if you just sit there and wallow and you're like, oh, it sucks and blah, 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 you're never going to get